When I think about leadership, one lesson that always sticks with me is this: being fair is not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. And I remember when I was managing a global team. So think about promotions, hiring, performance reviews. It is so easy for unconscious bias or loud voices to dominate. And I always had to remind myself that fairness is a daily practice, not just a one time decision. And that's exactly what today's episode is about. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to From a Woman to a Leader, a podcast dedicated to you, women in tech, where we share stories, we give tips, and we inspire you. And my name is Limor Bergman Gross. I am a former director of engineering, and I turned leadership coach about 5.5 years ago. And my mission is to help women like you, women in tech, grow into confident, visible, and impactful leaders. And this week, I'm super excited. I'm joined by Soumya Vinod, and she is a senior engineering leader at Workday. Soumya shares her journey from databases to machine learning to leadership, and how she made fairness the core of her leadership philosophy. And what you'll learn from this episode. So this is the things you're going to get: practical steps to lead with fairness in daily decisions, how to balance self-promotion with empowering others, and why authenticity, consistency, and trust are the foundation of real leadership. So if you ever wonder how to stand out without pushing others down, this conversation is for you. So, are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi Soumya, how are you?
Hey Limor, I'm very good. Thank you. How is your day going?
It's, Soumya, it's very busy for me today, and I'm happy to be busy, but I'm also looking forward to the weekend. It's a Thursday here in Israel, and that's like the last day of the work week for us, so I'm looking forward to the weekend. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about a topic actually I haven't covered yet, so that will be interesting. Before we dive into that, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you, how you got kind of into tech, and what inspired you to become a leader, an engineering leader in tech?
Definitely. First of all, Limor, thank you very much for having me on your show. So I've been very impressed with your efforts to just create a platform, and you bring in this wide range of leadership perspectives. So it's an honor to be a part of it. So I would really like to start by thanking you. And yes, I'll be absolutely thrilled to share my journey. And I started my career many, many years ago as a system analyst, really getting into the details of programming and databases. So it was really very fascinating to me, just diving deep into those systems. And I spent quite a few years working in the world of databases. And then things started to change a bit, and I got pulled into some machine learning modeling related projects. And it was really like a whole new world opened up. And suddenly I'm seeing data in a completely different light. So understanding how data can really drive change. So it was an exciting period of learning. And then the move into leadership, that was more natural progression for me. I wanted to create an environment where others could thrive,
Yeah.
and I would like to say that I saw potential in people just like I saw potential in code and data. So I truly believe that a strong team, which is given clear direction and the freedom to innovate, they can achieve amazing things.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, that's what drives me every day.
Incredible. And Soumya, I think this is something that I would like to highlight to our listeners, because I share a very similar kind of passion for people like you. And for those of you, I have a lot of clients who are debating whether leadership is the right path for them, or maybe remaining as an individual contributor. So just something to think about. If you are passionate about people and you want to create an environment where people thrive, then you may want to consider leadership role for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. The
Thank you.
satisfaction is definitely there, to see your
Yeah,
team grow and step up to the next level.
for sure. And how did you get into focus on fairness as a core value in leadership?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I believe that fairness is fundamental to ethical leadership. So it's just about treating people like yourself, how you want to be treated. Treat them with respect because everyone deserves that. And decisions should be really made based on merit and not personal biases, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, a fair workplace, in my opinion, is really a sustainable one. When folks feel that they're treated equitably, they are more engaged, they stick around, they give you their best, and that translates automatically into better performance. More innovation comes out of it, and in general, all around, it brings in a better culture. So, for me, focusing on fairness is not just the right thing to do, I would say it's the smart thing to do for the long term success of your team and any organization.
Yeah, for sure. And I heard two things. I heard treating people equally,
Mhm.
and I also heard kind of removing biases, which I think, I mean, based on my experience, biases are big, right? I mean, we have this always, you know, how many times I've got, I don't know, probably you as well, done this unconscious bias training.
Yep. Yep.
It doesn't really help much, to be honest.
Yeah, agree with you. Yes. So you're right, absolutely. So fairness isn't something that just happens, because it's an active practice. Like you said, all of us have our unconscious bias, right? So we have our blind spots, nobody is
Mm-hmm.
perfect. And that's just human nature. So the best way I have found to handle that is like put together clear policies and standards in place and then stick to them. Don't let anything else come in between. Have a clear understanding of how you want to do a certain task. Put some standards in place. Don't let anything else that can bring in an unconscious bias be in the way between you and those. And that way, decisions are made based on objective criteria, not just personal feelings. You have something to go based on, right? Your standards, the policies that you have put in place. So, yeah, fairness is, it's a journey. It's not a destination, right? Nobody is
Yeah.
just there on day one. So you have to constantly reflect on your decision, ask for feedback, and try to see where you can improve. And then just ask your team, ask people around you, your managers, to hold you accountable. And that is the best way to learn, rethink, reevaluate, and keep improving.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned processes and standards. Can you share like an example of what it will look like?
Definitely, so as a people leader or a manager, you have to hire people, you have promotions, you have so many other things then where you really have to um, look at everybody with certain standards in place, right? So I like to keep the people away from the equation and just look at the tasks, or if it is a hiring, look at the qualifications, look at their experience. When even if there is an interview, go to the interview notes based on how they performed, how they presented themselves, or their background. Keeping a lot of other things that can come in front of you as unknown, unconscious bias, just keep them to the side and follow your standard of these are the most important things for my success, my company's success, the team's success. Just go based on that and apply similar set for be it performance review, compensation planning, promotions, or even when it comes to who you are giving the next best project to, right? Try
Yeah.
to pair people up, try to use that as an opportunity to give someone an opportunity to lead, whereas give someone an opportunity to learn. So go based on policies and processes than looking at people.
Yeah, and I can share also that now you remind me. I mean, you talked about hiring. So, you know what I used to do when I was hiring, and I was not the only one, right, making the decision or interviewing. I created a really rigorous process of interview,
Mm-hmm.
like what kind of interviews we do, what kind of behavioral interviews we do, and even prepare some sample questions. And the
Yeah.
reason I did that was not because I'm a control freak, because I'm not, but I
Yeah.
wanted to create some kind of baseline that
Mm-hmm.
everyone that interviews measure by the same standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I have to say, I'm really fortunate to work for a company right now which really has a lot of those policies in place. So it has helped in a way that you just need to follow what they are saying and not really let your bias come in the way. But that said, that might not be the case everywhere, right? There could
yeah,
be places where things are just, the process are just being put in place. So always hiring, like you mentioned, we just use that as an example. Use that towards your daily decisions. Have a criteria how you're going to pick the people for the next opportunity. In general, put few policies, or I would like to call it as the values you live by at work.
yeah,
Lead with integrity. Basically, that's what. And honestly, it's mostly about giving fair treatment to everyone, and that is basically it is at the end of the day.
yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you, so obviously you have control within your team or the organization that you lead.
Hmm.
And you can create your own standards, right? If the company doesn't have one, you can create your own.
Yeah.
How do you deal with cases where you work with other people and they may not operate by the same standards? So in my career, I had, for example, promotions. Let's take that as an example. So we were
Hmm.
talking about promotions and we had a cycle and we were meeting different, leaders at the same level and we had to talk. And everyone had their own standards and biases, right?
Hmm.
And how do you kind of align everyone by the same standards and reduce as much as possible subjective kind of criterias or, you know, um, whatever biases people have and make a fair, kind of balanced, fair decision when it's more than just you
Yeah.
and your team?
That's a very good question because nobody works in silos anymore, and for in the technology world, it's a lot about collaboration, cross collaboration, collaboration between the teams, and collaboration between various organizations. And I have to say that even if I look at my current teams, we have multiple projects, right? And each of them we collaborate with a totally different set of groups. So one thing that helps in general is the company culture. So that is something everybody values and all teams kind of try to focus a lot on. So the company values help us quite a bit to
Mm-hmm.
put that baseline. But that said, there is always individual personalities that can come in place on top of the company culture. So sometimes it is about having that mindful conversation and more than anything, building that trust and relationship. So one thing I like to do is I like to have biweekly sync ups with leaders from all the areas practically where my teams work with. I really take the time to meet with them biweekly, and we talk about projects, or we just try to talk about things where we are able to collaborate more better, work as a team, just build the trust, and really work on it. Sometimes it takes effort, and it's just step by step, but you really have to put conscious effort into it. And like I said, if you have a base of an amazing company culture, then it becomes a lot more easier, which I have to say that I've been thankful to have that on my side.
Yeah. And I would say if you don't have a good company culture, then you should probably consider if this is somewhere you want to stay.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's all about living by your values. You have one life. You should be able to live it in a way that, you can sleep in the night peacefully, knowing that you did the right thing for yourself and for your teams, and you did a fair job. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you talk about building relationships with people, having ongoing communication, which is important regardless, right? Especially, I think even more so today when so many companies work either remote or hybrid, and some people you never meet even in person.
Hmm. Yeah. It becomes hard, honestly. Globalization has brought in a lot of positives. You can have teams bringing in a lot of different thought process, which helps product in general, because these days every company is creating product to sell around the world. So
Yeah.
understanding what happens or what is important on the other side of the world is great. And same with, in general, like I said, bringing in diverse perspectives even for the design, it's been great. But that said, there is always that element of remote work, right? You're not, like you just mentioned, Limor, we are not seeing each other on a daily basis. The opportunities to connect at an individual level or personal level is not there. So what we have been doing in our my teams is we put a conscious effort. Of course, team meetings are there, where we all meet on Zoom, and we kind of have a team practice of let's just all be on camera, make that effort to just talk, interact, have at least whatever connection we can bring in through those remote conversations. And we do remote games. We really do a lot of those cahoots or whatever. At least we set in time, keep time separate, even if we are under a very busy schedule. I believe that we can somehow carve out an hour a quarter, or if it is a possibility, an hour a month, to just connect with each other, talk about, just we sometimes we just go through. In one of my previous teams we did this, just go around the table talking about just an icebreaker,
Yeah.
and that brought in conversations and questions, and people get to know each other. And many people came back to me and said that the next time they met with those people to even talk about work, it was a different feeling. They felt like, hey, I'm now talking to somebody who I know a little bit more better. So doing those small things, whatever we can to bring in the team together, even if it is remote, is extremely important. And if your company allows you, bring them in maybe once a year for just a meetup. And thankfully, I have to say that I was able to bring in my teams from uh, a lot of places to my current location, the headquarters, a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing just to have 4 days of the whole team under the same roof and just talk and just have lunch together. And even if it was a work-related meeting, it was good to just have those connections.
Absolutely. I very much agree with you that when I used to work, managing remote, I try to bring teams together as much as I could. Obviously, a lot of times it's not possible to do it more than once a year,
Mhm.
and focus on really building the connections. Because I think in the remote setup, a lot of times we tend to be very, very transactional. Like every conversation is just work related on the outcome we want to achieve.
Yes.
And we don't pay enough attention on the people side, right? On who we are and who is this person I'm talking to? Who is Soumya?
Yeah.
Who is she? What does she have in life? What does she like to do? Just to connect on a personal level.
Exactly. You're so right, Limor. So because we are all so busy, let's say we set up a 25-minute meeting. We already have an agenda which might take an hour long, and we are just going through, okay, point one, discuss covered, point two, discuss covered, and that's how it is. So that's why we try to carve out a time separate, just to have a time to get to know each other. And I always tell my team, we need to do this more, but at least how much ever we can, just try to squeeze out that time and then keep doing it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And for any leaders out there that want to be, I guess, practicing fairness or becoming fair leaders or making sure that they are fair, maybe they already are. Do you have any kind of actionable steps you can share with them they can do in their daily interactions and decisions?
Yeah. So, one thing I would say is, like we mentioned earlier, right? Fairness is a journey. It isn't something that just happens.
Yeah.
It's really an active practice and something we have to work at every single day. So for me, it starts with something as simple as before making a big decision, I try to get as many different perspectives as I can. It's so easy to fall into the trap of just listening to the loudest voice or
Yeah.
someone who you are very comfortable with, but really making that effort to seek out those viewpoints. So that's where the real insights come from, in my opinion. And like we mentioned earlier, we have our blind spots. So be conscious, be aware of them, and keep consistently go back and check that you are not falling into that, and you are following your own policies and the processes that you have put in your place, and asking for feedback. That is another thing, trying to see where you can improve. And I encourage my team to hold me accountable, like I said, right? So it's all about the culture of trust and respect, and recognizing that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and given a fair shot. That's what it really comes down to. I would say it's like a tightrope walk. It's like a real balancing act that we need to do. Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
and just be yourself. That's what it is. Authenticity is very important. Don't try to be someone you're not. So, your unique talents, that's your strength. Show your genuine passion, balance it with humility. People definitely connect with it. People connect with the realness in you.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to emphasize from what you mentioned, a lot of good stuff. When you manage people and some people are quiet, you have to pay extra attention to them because we have a tendency to hear the loud voices,
Mm-hmm.
those people who come forward, who ask for things, who maybe are more externalizing their work. We want to make sure that we don't neglect those who are quiet,
Yep.
introverted, but doing fantastic job. I had a problem. I
Yeah.
had an engineer, incredible engineer in my team,
Mm-hmm.
and he was super, super, super introverted. In fact, not many people knew him in the some people knew him, but not all. And I wanted to promote him, and
Mm-hmm.
I was facing a lot of objections from other leaders because they say, we don't know this person.
Yeah.
So this is one of the challenges when we want to be fair. How
Mm-hmm.
do we do that? And as much as possible, try to minimize the biases that we have for people who are louder and more, maybe more outgoing and outspoken,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that we also appreciate and recognize those who are quiet.
Absolutely, you are right, because we all have our own personalities, and not everyone finds comfort in just, raising their opinion. It's not that they don't have it, and you're so right in saying that when I look around the room when I'm having team meetings, there is always one or two who I know that when I talk to them one on one, they share a lot more, but they're just quiet and wanting to be a listener when it comes to a group. So, how I've been dealing with it is, I talk to them during my one on ones and say, hey, I'm going to start calling you out a little bit here and there.
Yeah,
And if you're not comfortable, it's okay to just give me a signal, and then slowly consciously call out the name and say, hey, what do you think about this? And just giving them that opportunity to just slowly open up in smaller settings, just help them through the process, right? And sometimes there have been times when I consciously pair them up in a project with someone else who I know that they can learn a lot about how they are creating visibility for themselves. So it's not just a matter of pairing a junior and a senior for programming. It's also about learning a lot more, learn how they are, carrying themselves through meetings, just observe and learn. Because, like you said, visibility is turning to be a factor now in a lot of things. Be it, I don't want to comment on if that is fully the right approach or not, because there are pluses and minuses. When you look at it from upper management level, there is no other criteria for them to come with, right? If you have heard about someone a lot, it obviously gives them an impression that, hey, they have done something that was worth talking about or worth showcasing. But that is when, as managers, as people leaders, we have to make that conscious effort to bring in those people to a level that they are comfortable at. You
Yeah.
know, we really don't want to be pushing them beyond their comfort zone, but slowly helping them little by little. I take it seriously as part of my job description to be, yeah, that's how we can help them out.
Yeah. And Soumya, you mentioned something also very important that I want to emphasize here. We tend to look at people in the same way we look at ourselves, right? So if, for example, I'm very outspoken, outgoing person, and I have someone who is very introverted, very quiet,
Mhm.
it's easy to say to myself, oh, what's the problem? He can just speak up.
Yeah.
But for the other person, that may be very intimidating.
Mhm.
And you mentioned like you have to meet people where they're at and you have to take them one step at a time and not push them too much out
Yes.
of the comfort zone, and understand that everyone is different and everyone can behave differently. We cannot expect everyone to be the same. And
Mhm.
actually, it's a good thing because we have diversity. We don't need everyone to act
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah. Completely agree with you on that. Yes. And it's a crucial balance to strike, right? It's about your desire to motivate your team in all possible ways and trying to balance their personality where they want to be, right? You really need to find that balance and do the right thing for them and for your organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Any advice you have? We talked a little bit about trust. So, do you
Mhm.
have any advice how to build trust, especially, when you are not meeting with the people that you want to build trust with on a daily basis, right? You're remote or maybe they're remote. Do you have any kind of insights on that?
Yeah, so when it is, within the team, it's a little bit more easier. Even if it is like cross collaboration, always focusing on the shared wins. When we celebrate something or when we are talking about a win, we have to highlight the shared efforts and really highlight the contributions from others, highlight it publicly. Just be natural and be truthful. Don't be shy about just celebrating others' victory than as much as you celebrate yours, because both are equally important, right? Yeah, so like we discussed earlier a little bit about the remote working, right? It's much easier when you're in person. You see them in the hallways, you get a lot of opportunities to just have those small conversations that somehow creates a relationship, a working relationship, and that helps you to build the trust, right? When it is remote, it's not that easy. So, what I try to do is really have the conversation, just set up some time with them, check on them, make sure that you have a conscious time set up. When I have my sync ups, start with trying to understand them, and then go into the work details and bring them into the conversations within the team, be it through like a Slack conversations or even if we are all meeting on Zoom. Sometimes it's very easy to just talk in the room and just go around the table and discussing, but make a conscious effort to pull in the people who are on Zoom, on remote, into the conversations, give them that space, be their advocate in a way to make them seen within the room. And that helps. And I have seen again and again when people who are working remote appreciate that and coming back to me saying that, oh, that was a very nice meeting. I was glad I could contribute more, about my thought process. So just being genuine and then just making sure you are aware that and treating them as someone in the room equally, when you are having meetings, and just that's how I look at it. That's the best way we can do, right? In remote work, pulling them into everything. This is the only way that we can do it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Before we end our call today, is there kind of one piece of advice you would like to leave with our listeners about fairness or anything related to leadership?
Yeah. So, like I said, right, it is really a tightrope walk a lot of us face.
Yeah.
So, if I could just give my core advice in a couple of minutes, what I would like to say is that be yourself. That's what I would like to repeat again. Like, authenticity is very important. It is really not about, fairness is really not about being perfect. It is about being consistent and transparent. Like, document your decision process, explain your reasoning, and really be willing to admit when you're wrong. And just listen actively, seek out their perspective, show that you value them, right? That builds trust, and demonstrating the respect and the empathy that you have for them, that is extremely important. And don't confuse showcasing talent with dominating the conversation. So your talent should be there to elevate your team, elevate others, not to just overshadow them. So share your expertise, absolutely, but also make sure you're creating a space for others, for them to shine. Because at the end of the day, a leader's success is measured by the success of the team, right? So yeah, make conscious effort to build that trust. That's what I would advise to anybody who wants to really act with integrity and treat others with fairness. And that's how you build a culture of fairness where everyone can thrive.
Absolutely. Those are wonderful insights to end our call today. And Soumya, before we end, how can our listeners connect with you?
Sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I do occasionally participate in few industry events and conversations. And my goal is to foster a community of learning and growth. So I really believe in sharing knowledge and empowering others. So always open to connecting with people through my LinkedIn, sharing my insights. And yeah, honestly, it's been so nice, Limor. It's really been a pleasure sharing my thoughts with you. And I hope our listeners also found this conversation helpful.
Absolutely. And the pleasure is all mine, Soumya. Thank you so much. It's been a true honor and pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you. It's been a delight. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the episode with Soumya. And before you go, I have a quick favor to ask you. What landed in today's episode? Tell me in a short DM or a one-line review. Your feedback is really important and shapes what I create next in this podcast. And don't leave just yet. I want to give you a sneak peek on next week episode and next week guest. So next week, I'm sitting down with Uma Subramanian. She spent 20 years at Microsoft, made a bold leap into startup life, and a moment on a quiet dog walk changed everything for her. She calls it limitless, and we dig into her 5S framework: see, serve, stretch, shine, and sustain, and how to commit first and figure out without burning out. So if you want more promotions, more influence, and less second guessing, hit follow or subscribe to the podcast now and share this show with a woman in tech who needs it. So I'll see you next week for Becoming Limitless with Uma Subramanian. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.